Thank you, Laura. It's a real pleasure to welcome you all here to today's Global Business Summit on energy. This, of course, is one of a series of events, all timed to coincide with the Olympic Games, the biggest international business conference we've ever held. Our aim today is to look at what more we can do together to advance clean, smart energy generation, boosting our shared prosperity, as well as building a more resilient economy, better able to withstand future shocks. The UK is already the 6th largest market in low-carbon and environmental goods and services. We lead the world in offshore wind. Our total installed capacity is as much as the rest of the world put together. With enviable natural resources, we're one of the biggest players in marine and energy and tidal energy too. We offer political stability, most of the time anyway, legal certainty, and the English language. This is one of the best places in the world to do business. That's according to the World Bank. With the best regulatory environment in Europe. That's according to a recent poll of European utility investors. As well as some of the world's best universities and research facilities. Indeed, we produce more Nobel Prize winners than any other country bar the United States. We're creating the most competitive corporate tax regime in the G7, and add to that the fact that the world's biggest single market is on our doorstep. Despite Europe's continuing difficulties, it's still home to 500 million consumers, and you have the ideal location to invest your money and grow your businesses, a global powerhouse in the industries that you represent. Despite pressures on other parts of the economy, since the 2008 financial crisis, our low-carbon sector has grown year on year, with growth averaging 4.4%. But we want to do more. We want to seize every opportunity. Last year, the sector was worth around £3.3 trillion worldwide, and the race for green global investment is hotting up. The biggest, savviest economies are crowding in: China, Germany, Korea, Brazil. So the UK is upping its game, exploiting our competitive edge, making the most of our internationally respected brand in order to stay ahead. Ed will set out some of the detail on how the government is seeking to do that in a minute. So I will limit my remarks to our central message to you today. The one thing we want to impress upon you above all else. This coalition government is unreservedly committed to helping our low-carbon sector thrive. No ifs, no buts. And we want to support the shift by traditional industry to cleaner sources of energy, while of course recognizing the pressures they face. And when we say that we want green growth, that is not flimsy political rhetoric. It's a very real aim driven by very real economic needs. I think it's important to put that up in lights. The coalition is sometimes presented in the press as if it's riddled with debate and division with regard to greening the economy. That isn't the case. Yes, there will be internal discussions and debates on the balance and sequencing of different and complex policies. That's the nature of any government. And energy policies will evolve over time as costs come down. That's why, for example, we could recently reduce the subsidy for onshore wind. But the entire government is working within the parameters of the carbon budget, which sets the pace for decarbonising our economy. And there is no one in government who wants to depart from that. We all want an economy rebalanced across industries and regions. We all want to build on our highest growth sectors to create more jobs. So our challenge in government is giving you as much certainty as possible. We know that's what you crave. We know it keeps your costs down. Indeed, it's the issue raised with me most often by the people in this room, not least just now at the breakfast table. No one expects an entirely risk-free investment environment. But your companies are embarking on major projects, breaking new ground, building infrastructure intended to last a lifetime, relying on low-carbon technologies that involve significant upfront costs. And so, understandably, you place a big premium on predictability. We hear that loud and clear. And there are three overarching ways that we are seeking to provide that predictability to you. First, and this of course applies to all business, we have made macroeconomic stability an absolute priority for our government, because it is an absolute prerequisite for confidence and growth. It's easy to forget that at the time of the financial crash, the United Kingdom had a bigger deficit than Greece. By taking the difficult decisions, we pulled our economy back from the brink. We have kept the markets at bay, remaining masters of our own destiny. Interest rates have remained historically low, and a quarter of our deficit has now been paid off. Yes, the road to recovery is long and testing, but make absolutely no mistake. If we have to sacrifice short-term political popularity for lasting economic health, so be it. We promised to safeguard economic stability in the national interest, and that is what we will continue to do. Second, consistency from government. So no surprises, no rabbits out of hats. We set out what we're going to do, and then we do it. It sounds obvious, but you all know governments don't always behave like that. Clearly, our emissions and renewable targets provide an overall policy framework. And look, for example, at how we take decisions on things like our renewable obligations banding. We review it every 4 years, like clockwork. So every 4 years, we consult with industry on the subsidy levels. We listen to the evidence you provide, and then we set the bands. And because everyone gets a sense of what's coming, companies can plan and prepare. That's why, since announcing the new levels just a few weeks ago, we've already seen signs of progress on around £3.5 billion worth of investments. Just today, for example, shovels will hit the ground in Tees Valley, where Air Products is building a renewable energy plant that will power 55,000 homes and create 700 construction jobs. And I'm delighted to see David Taylor from Air Products here today. It's true that sometimes we have to take a bit of time to get the detail right, especially on major items like electricity market reform. But our aim is always predictable processes, transparent and inclusive policy making, decisions that are based on evidence above all else. So please let us know how we can do more of that. And then finally, ambition, a willingness to be bold, because we seek nothing less than a clean, green, low-carbon economy. And the scale of that task demands imagination. In order to meet this challenge, we in government need to think big. That's why the UK's fourth carbon budget constitutes the boldest emissions reduction target set in law by any government anywhere in the world. And we have been at the forefront of attempts to secure a more ambitious target across the European Union. We are creating the world's first green investment bank, a national bank devoted to leveraging billions of pounds for green infrastructure. The government's UK Green Investments team has already begun making investments. And I can announce today that they have just sealed a contract to provide £100 million for investment in small-scale, non-domestic energy efficiency projects. The Green Deal will start later this year and will transform home energy consumption, creating a whole new market in UK home insulation and energy efficiency. We're beginning the biggest shake-up of the electricity market in 3 decades in order to level the playing field between low-carbon and conventional energy. We've just announced the largest investment in rail since the Victorian era. We're providing one of the best offers in the world for carbon capture and storage, including our new £1 billion competition. We're the first country where listed companies will include emissions data in their annual reports. something I pressed our international partners to adopt at the Rio Sustainability Summit in June. We've dramatically overhauled our planning regulations, slimming over 1,300 pages of planning policy right down to 49, easing the path for good, sustainable developments. These are big-ticket reforms, world firsts, policy that looks decades ahead. So, stability, consistency, ambition, the building blocks of our shared prosperity. I hope today reminds you of the value this coalition government places on your businesses and your ambition. Together we find ourselves at the vanguard of one of the most dynamic, most innovative, most important industries of our time. An industry that would help us build a more stable, more prosperous, and more sustainable world. That's a vision we can all get behind. This is a journey we are all on together. And on that note, let me hand over to Ed Davey.